liquidity pump is clearly off, and it's way off. I just look at Fed fund futures in 1 year, they're right around 5%. That shows no hope of getting this liquidity pump to go on. And what's going to make that go on? It's the lose-lose. Risk assets going down. Bitcoin, bottom line, I'll point out, is the riskiest of them, and the rest of the alts are even riskier. So show me the beef. Let me see some performance. And that's what I've been looking for, and that's why I've been waiting and pointing out lately is this major pump we saw the 31,000 where everybody in the world said how bullish it was for the exact same reasons. Number one and two, they're halving, and then the ETF.
Mike McGlone, a respected senior macro strategist at Bloomberg, acknowledges Bitcoin's volatility but highlights its historical performance as an asset class, even in the face of a significant drop. Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency, has experienced a period of stability around the $26,000 mark following the recent speech by Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Powell reiterated the central bank's commitment to maintaining a 2% inflation target in his speech. As economists discuss the implications of this goal, market observers, including Mike McGlone, have weighed in on the potential impact of an impending recession on Bitcoin price. Wall Street ended higher on Monday, with gains in 3M and Goldman Sachs ahead of key inflation and jobs data this week that will offer more clues on the Federal Reserve's interest rate path. All three major stock indexes rose as investors digested last Friday's comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell that the U.S. central bank may need to raise interest rates further to ensure inflation is contained. Alongside, the rate futures have notably repriced as well. While expectations remain firmly in place for the Fed to stand pat at its next meeting on September. China's economy was meant to drive a third of global economic growth this year, so its dramatic slowdown in recent months is sounding alarm bells across the world. On Sunday, China Evergrande Group slumped as much as 87% in Hong Kong trading following a 17-month halt, becoming a penny stock as the country's most indebted developer unveiled more losses and delayed meetings with creditors. In an interview, McGlone mentioned that we should pay attention to two important things: China changing its economy and the Fed continuing to make money more expensive. He mentioned that the China situation looks similar to how Japan and the Soviet Union transformed their economies in the past. Let's direct our attention towards few clips from interview.
The simple fact is you look at Fed fund futures, I look in the terminal, the functions WRP, and it says the expectations for the September meeting is they'll hike another 25 basis points, that's 20%. And for the November meeting, 40%. The bottom line is they're still hiking, and just got off our meeting this morning with my colleagues, and the economist on Wong says they might misinterpret the data and hike more. It's just a simple way of saying, don't just fight the Fed, fight the most central banks on the planet that are still tightening with the exception of one, China. And China is the second largest economy, and they're in a significant, I think, reversion period. So that to me is the most important thing. So I think the most important thing for someone like me to do is focus on what I got wrong and what it matters. And the key thing I've gotten wrong in this last year is how much the Fed has hiked rates. I didn't think they'd go this much. I didn't think I'd see the 12-month, the one-year bill in the U.S. at 5.44%. That's the highest since 2000. It's 23 years. Bitcoin has been around for 9,000. So first I'll rope this over to I see the problem with Bitcoin is I look at it as a parent. My kids are in almost 30, some of them now, and that is that this teenager has never seen a world without zero interest rates, massive liquidity, and now it's completely the opposite. In addition, part of that, the engine of growth in the world and that bastion of trading from China is just reverting. Now that's the process right now. It's a question of what stops these things. So I look at this in terms of the big picture macro is don't fight the Fed. We've had this bounce in the stock market. And the key thing that's still happening is I don't think, and it's just showing that the Fed's going to lighten up on that tightening button until the stock market goes down. So what does that mean for all risk assets? They typically go down. Definitely for all the altcoins, Bitcoin, maybe at some point it'll look back and say, okay, up 26,000 X's since it traded one in 2011. Maybe it reverts a little bit of that. To me, that's the risk in the macro. And the key thing is what changes this. Now, to me, the thing I did get right is I thought China was going to go the way of Japan and Soviet Union, as you read in things like the book, like Atlas Shrugged. It is going there rapidly now. We heard from our strategist in Hong Kong this morning, and says China's not done easing and the Fed's not done tightening. That's the train wreck happening. Strong dollar, in the worst, most significant currency, weak currency, and the other one, and sentiment's poor. What changes that? Nothing. It's not. We haven't seen the accumulated effect of all the rate hikes in their best customers, and then there's this war going on. So there's the issue with China. Most cryptos are traded in Europe. And the key thing that really struck me this week was when I heard you say this weekend, Scott, that it's not the store value, it's the value to be stored. That is what I'm expecting, is total value, total monetary value of assets on the planet to decline. Now that's happened a little bit. It's happening with housing now. It's just getting started. It's stock market's bounce. In China, it's happening. But if it has a normal reversion that is historically, we can take that GDP around 17, 18 trillion and knock it back a few. It's just what always happened. China, look at Japan. Its GDP has been the same for about 30 years now.
30 years.
So this is, I'm not going to make it long-winded, but it's just the key things that are the bottom line for me is these are significant macroeconomic trends that are in motion. And the bottom line we have to ask ourselves is, number one, where we're from. And where did we come from in markets? We are talking about, in terms of Bitcoin, the best performing asset in history that potentially will revert more. That's my bias. We're talking about the stock market just a few years ago by 4 or 5 metrics was the most expensive in history that just may revert more.
During interview, McGlone mentioned that he finds the intense hype around Bitcoin quite remarkable. It's an asset that has garnered more attention and excitement than anything he's ever witnessed before. When it comes to the cryptocurrency market, the most significant influencer of market trends is Bitcoin. Once the price of BTC fluctuates, the whole market follows. According to the CoinMarketCap, with a market capitalization of $507.21 billion, Bitcoin remains the dominant player in the cryptocurrency space. Over the past 24 hours, Bitcoin saw trading volumes of $8.09 billion, demonstrating that there is still significant interest in the cryptocurrency. McGlone pointed out that we witnessed a situation where FTX encountered a barrier when its market value dropped. Given the current direction of Bitcoin's journey, there's a question in my mind about whether platforms like Binance might also face a comparable obstacle.
My assessment of mass delusion is trying to assess markets from the future and look back. And this is what I've never seen a more hyped asset ever than Bitcoin. So that's why it's what what's tweaking me lately is this underperformance. I'm like, okay, show me this. Remember, it was the best asset to invest in 5-10 years ago when no one heard about it. But now it's really, we have to fill up my taxes I have to write if I'd ever trade in Bitcoin. It's that much in the mainstream. It's just that shocking now that we have to be careful about this. Everybody says the same thing, yet it's up 26,000 times in just 13 years. And just give you an example how that's relative, it took 25 years for Amazon to increase 130x. So this is what we're talking about with this asset. Now I'm just pointing out facts. It's been underperforming and showing significant underperformance just this quarter alone. It's down 14%, stock market's down 1%. So I'm pointing out an asset that maybe has reached a level of saturation in terms of massive hysteria, best performing asset ever, massive delusion, it might have, and show me signs of otherwise. And yes, you point out the metrics, but price is all that matters in markets. So I like to point out is everybody says these holders are in forever. Where's their stop? So we saw what the stop was for FTX. The market went down enough, FTX went under. Is there a stop for Binance? Binance is, you just read the papers lately, they're potentially doing some very illegal things. But who knows? They're getting pulled out of a lot of countries. Is Binance the next FTX? I don't know. But I'm pointing out current trajectories in this asset that's widely known. Show me some outperformance. Right now, I'm pointing out it's still underperforming. If it can sustain above 30 with the stock market ticking down, I can flip that quick. I flipped bullish when the New York Attorney General came down on Tether in 2019. Bitcoin was around 5,000, but now it's the opposite. It's already gone up a lot. And now everybody knows about it. Everybody can't wait to buy it. And the holders are never going to sell. Everybody has a stop. That's what I'm concerned about.
During his speech in Jackson Hole, Fed Chair Jerome Powell emphasized the FOMC's dedication to reducing inflation to a level of 2%. Moreover, Powell's acknowledgement of the continuous interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve contributes to the worries regarding the broader economic situation of Bitcoin. Given the current circumstances, do you think the immense hype around Bitcoin could eventually reach a saturation point? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this information valuable, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel to stay informed with the latest news and videos. Thanks for joining us.